sponsors for this event today here at Seattle University. We have the Office of the President, Eduardo and Danielle there, who is a relatively new president here at Seattle University. He said he'll try to stop by at some point today. He's got a lot of engagements happening on campus. We also have the Reverend Lois Gaffney co-chairs, Rob Efert, who is the steward over the ethnobotanical garden here on the campus, which is just that way from this building, I believe, from your family. And Christina Roberts is the co-chair. She is one of our literature English professors, and she also oversees the Indigenous Peoples Institute, who is our third sponsor. And we've got other funders that help support us, and we wish to acknowledge those folks as well, the Seattle Foundation, the Upper Skagit Tribe, and the Paul Allen Community Accelerator Artsfund grant. So a lot of people make this possible today, as well as the registration. So thank you very much for that. And moving right along, I'd like to introduce our first presenter, Archie Cantrell. He was born and raised in Tacoma and is a member of the Puyallup Tribe of Indians. He and his wife, Hope, have 3 children. Archie is a licensed foster parent and holds a master's degree in business administration. Archie graduated with honors from Puyallup High School in 2004 and became employed by the Puyallup Tribe shortly thereafter. Archie began working in natural resources at the Puyallup Tribal Fisheries as a fisheries sampler in 2004. In 2006, he changed positions and became a fisheries specialist. This work allowed him to participate and further his appreciation in all aspects of salmon culture, which is the Puyallup Tribe's most valued natural resource. Through his employment within the Puyallup Tribe, Archie has also been active with tribal youth. Archie served on the Puyallup Tribal Youth Committee from 2005 to 2015, serving as chairman for 8 years. Archie's passion for assisting young tribal members led him to change departments. In the fall of 2014, Archie transferred to the Puyallup Tribal Youth Center as a youth coordinator. This position allowed him to work closely and interact with tribal youth in the community and those attending Chief Leshai School. The language department was also located at the youth center, so Archie began spending time with the language staff and learning introduction Lushootseed materials. This chance occurrence sparked his interest, and he began pursuing personal Lushootseed instruction. After deciding he wanted to be part of the Lushootseed movement on a full-time basis, Archie again transferred departments and began working for the Puyallup Tribal Language Program in the summer of 2016. This work allowed him to work with tribal community members of all ages and work directly with Chief Leshai schools. Archie currently works for the Puyallup School District as their Native American Education Liaison. Archie is a very active member of the Puyallup tribal community. In addition to language, he enjoys participating in other cultural activities, such as singing and dancing in both coastal and plain styles. In his spare time, like he has any, right? In his spare time, Archie is an active hunter and commercial harvester of salmon, crab, shrimp, and gooey duck. Let's welcome Archie Cantrell.
ʔukʷalad, ʔukʷalad, txʷəl, txɪya, as boot lachi bit to boot the chud ʔukʷalad, as boot lachi bit to boot the chud ʔukʷalad, as Joel chud attends as lab to boost. Al tislechel hat, tislechel to tistoale badisha. Tislechel to tatabub chethatis for shortsit artistili. Yeah. Archie Cantrell tid sta. Wayne Cantrell tid sta atud bad. Prudence Matheson sista at situd kaya. Spoyalapams tis. Ate silfil to bud butter. Hazel yupti Eva yupti Uriah tis stats. Slathil chud alti Olympia. we go tired of this code, I'll take to Lushootseed to Olympia. So I slack the chud, I'll take Olympia. Over the chud, I'll take txwɔl Tacoma. To I'll take to take lug. Hoi, Ochov chud to take Poyala. Oh, hey. Over the chud, I'll take txwɔl up take Poyala. To Yayus to taste Yayus Ali to Lushootseed to taste Boyala Bombs to Zanachi Zaladu. Hi, to Yayus to taste Yayus Ali to that Tabu to take Boyala Khalot. Oh, Telly Buck T CI at the top. To ilib chud's clutted bar tis powwows yufti at the car abshitsi tis oshbits tid bad for utsa. To tabit so chud to tidzo tili but a hot at the buck patab or tabit so chud. Ashti do god shit. ʔukʷalad ti bad yuf ti see yuf ti pus yuf ti uswali at the hot owali or sorry quit lich ti I say few some stealing to utsa Skagit tiʔə to tiʔə tataba txʷledu. I think before we get started, I'm trying to do this bilingual. I think before we get started talking about Lushootseed in song, I want to preface with the fact that like I am not a pro. I don't know anything. I know just a little bit of the traditional advice that has been given to me from my father, from my aunts and uncles, both blood and chosen, and also my teachers such as ʔukʷalad. I'm sure y'all know Zeke. He gave quite a bit of information to me and others about the proper way to do these things on the floor. I know that we don't always have elders in our family that are able to kind of give us that traditional advice or that traditional information. So it's very important for us to lean on those others to kind of guide us in the right way and kind of, smack us on track if we start to get off. We understand that like it's okay to be corrected. We can try our best, and that's all we can do with this language. We don't have a lot of it left, in my understanding anyway. So the best we can do is to try ourselves to be the best we possibly can and allow our elders and our teachers to correct us. So I want to start by talking about a little bit of the we dressed up as some of the characters. We like to do what do you call a storytelling night up there at Puyallup. And we try our best to act it out for folks and dress up and look like idiots, and it tends to get people pretty excited. So yeah, I got to be an eagle for this one. I'm sure you recognize maybe some of those folks. I'll talk a little bit about singing. It's fine for you to stand because they say that the ancestors are standing with you when you sing. We want to make sure that when we sing, we align ourselves and we stand straight. Then we sing. We don't change the song. We sing it as correct as we possibly can. And we're kind of taught that when we do sing, we're not up here when we have the floor. We don't cross our legs. We aren't looking lazy. Singing is very important to our people. It's very important to our culture. So we align ourselves and we stand straight. Txʊ gʷat txʊ txʊ every song that we have comes from someone, however it decided to come upon them. It is very important that we inform the people who the songs came from, the name of the songs, where the folks were from, and when we got permission to sing the song, if that information is available. And it is okay to inform the folks about the words that the song is saying. Ogos bit chuff. We try our best to explain it. God said chuff. We do our best to instruct about it. ʔukʷalad chuff. We do our best to help folks understand the songs and the dances. Chaladuf chuff tis oh tis ilib. Iliduf chuff tis. Sorry, chuff a txʊwəl. Oi chuff. You follow the one that is leading the song. When people are singing, we try our best to follow the leader. We sing it in our own voice, however, because it's very important. Your voices are important on the floor. And then when it's time to be done, we end the song and we end our time on the floor. We try not to take up too much time because there may be other folks that want to give their medicine out there on the floor. I know, I like to sing. So I try to rally the troops sometimes. It is important that before we sing a song that we were talking about a little bit earlier, that we give credit to those people that created the song and describe where they come from or what the story was on how you were able to have the song shared with you. When we do that, we try our best anyways in Puyallup to do that in Lushootseed because it is the original language of the Swatooth to the txʷəl. So I want to talk a little bit about when you are up there and you are introducing a song, there are some lessons that goes with holding the microphone and being the guy talking. I still have a lot to learn in my life about how to properly do that. But I just want to give a little bit of the dick that has been given to me. So this stuff dick. We'll talk about some of the definitions. The word txʊwəl. I'm sure you guys have all heard this word before, but the word txʊwəl refers to someone that is a high-class person or an honorable person, a chief or a boss. We're taught in our ways that we do not call ourselves txʊwəl ever. We refer to other people as txʊwəl. And I think that those teachings are kind of universal. We don't consider ourselves to be the man. We want to lift up other people and make them feel like they are txʊwəl. The gʷat, which Lushootseed talks blue, the seat of the emotions, the thoughts, the feelings, your philosophies, your beliefs, who you are as a person. If you are not familiar with the word gʷat, I don't know how to describe it to those that do not speak Lushootseed. Something along the lines of your spirit or your soul, who you are as a person. That's kind of how I take that. But such very important word. But this is just. Artists ali te gʷat with this chaos. The gʷat is in the heart. It is not in the head. I teach chalad to the teeth talks to blue sucha quitla disha aldisha. I don't know how to explain it. You know, it's not here. It's here. She kind of hugs herself in the video. If you guys seen it, it's a good video. It's te gʷat to dig tub chas quid ziv ilpated guasabov just the chod just a chayik. The gʷat is of the most importance. We're trained that first we think, then we speak, and then we do, which are lessons you can carry on pretty much in every aspect of your life. You know, just keeping it in that good way. Lab Tabuda chop a quad hutch with tito all disha with the bug stab. Albas ista of dig chus a tis is poke. You got to be careful what you think because it is from here that everything else follows. We got to make sure we get our minds right. We got to make sure our hutch is right. Because, I mean, you could very well, if you're out there singing and you're all like in a bad mood or y'all pissy or whatever, you can give that negative energy and that negative medicine to people as well. We're advised by others in the same way. Sister is ex-toja, us his hutch to abshitum just. So all his hutch, well, I build the boots, you have this action or audition. Sorry. This is why they said that the hutch is the most important medicine that was given to us. It is from the hutch that you can elevate yourself and your people. Meaning, if your heart is in a good way or your hutch is in a good way, we can give that medicine to the people. They kind of explained it to me like this is why we raise our hands. We're Abba's hutch being a quit hutch. We're giving our good hutch to the people. When we're out there on the floor, perhaps we're not doing this just for ourselves because it makes us feel good. We're doing this work so other people can feel good and they can get that medicine. You never know what folks are going through. We can make our words medicine if we speak from the hutch. And then our words are of spiritual benefit that befalls upon the people, our people, and all people. It kind of goes back to what we were just talking about. These words we can use to elevate people. I don't know. It was kind of had a new perspective on it. Like last year, we were singing at some jam or whatever, and there was this elder that got up there and he was talking about like all of our languages, and this happens pretty much across Indian country. I won't say all, but a lot of them. They say our language comes from the land, and this is very true for the Lushootseed language. And then he's like, well, where does the land come from? Who made the land? Oh, the Creator made the land. Well, that means we're speaking the language of the people that come straight from the Creator. So kind of think about it in that way, you know, when we utilize our tribal languages, we are speaking the language that was given to us from the Creator, which was quite a new perspective for me. ʔukʷalad, 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 it's important before we do this work on the floor, whatever that work is, that we make our minds strong. We try our best not to be intoxicated or under the influence when we do this kind of work. We try our best not to be angry because we don't want to give those angry vibes to the people. We want to fix our mind and prepare our mind and kind of leave all the BS like aside. And then we want to extend and we want to give good thoughts in that way. When we raise our hands, we want what's coming from us to be good medicine for each and every person that is there, or try our best to anyways. Then when you speak to others, the strength of Lushootseed will come down upon the people. Our words are medicine, and we've kind of covered this, you know, a little bit today. But it's really important that we try to do our best to correct ourselves in that way and just try our best and be open to being corrected, because I'm going to make mistakes here. I've made several already. We make mistakes when we sing. We make mistakes when we're out there and telling stories or just trying our best to get people excited about learning their language. We're going to make mistakes. And it's important, though, that as long as I think anyways, as long as our chutz is in a good place, I think that's good medicine. A bit of chut b'chod be chut lehit hali el tish chut. A quick those chod chut wanda as eerste a quist elim. When we speak, we heal our people. When we speak, it's like a song. I don't know if you noticed, but there's if you've ever heard recordings of our elders speaking, our ancestors speaking our language, you notice it kind of starts out like a song, and they're like, oh, say, it's very it's pretty. I don't know how to explain it. And kind of going back, I forgot to mention, on the acting crazy, don't be intoxicated, don't be angry slide. txʷəl, txʷəl in one of her videos, she says you jab with English and you caress with Lushootseed, which is kind of interesting because we don't really have a lot of cuss words, or we don't have a lot of vulgar language that I'm aware of. There are things you can say, I guess, that kind of translate. Instead of saying the S word, you could say sputs, but literally that's just poop. So so in English it kind of translates towards a vulgar thing, but really we don't have a lot of vulgar language in Lushootseed, which I thought was kind of interesting because really, when kids come in the classroom, that's the first thing they want to learn, right? Well, it's not really what I said that. But I don't know, just adding on to that. Quit just the elitist alien. O iltu just atist alien. O quad just. We do not sing the song. We are made to sing the song. It is something that grabs us. Albas esta quiso chodchas. O quadchas a txʊgʷalad a txʷəl. This is also how it is when we speak. We are taken by the spiritual strength of this land because that's where our language comes from. And when we speak for the benefit of our relations, our people, all people everywhere, and we speak. With Latea Tesius, it is hot shugs, Gaucht, Toch, Billa, Toch, Chus, Sla, Abbas, Hutchbean, a ʔukʷalad. The work of taking a good road is not easy, but if we are capable of continually extending good thoughts to others, whether through Joel, through Obil, I or Tebit Suchas for quick Obo Knob, ʔukʷalad, Abalad. It's gonna be joyful and it's gonna be fun. So we try our best to be kind, to be helpful, and to be sharing. And these are the three virtues that we work on, especially in our language program. Even though I do not work anymore for the language program, I still consider myself to be part of that. And I'm always like, we. But these are our virtues. We try our best to be noble, to be kind, ʔukʷalad, to be helpful, and abalad, to be sharing. Because if we approach anything in life with these virtues, we're gonna win. And that's what I try to tell our kids. As long as we follow these ideas, even when you're in the most weird circumstances ever, you're a good person, good things happen. I believe good things happen to good people. So I'm going to talk a little bit about song introduction. Sorry, that was a real long intro to kind of like what we're going to talk about or whatever. But introducing songs, it's very important, and it was made to maybe to be a little bit more important to me in recent years, to make sure that when we sing a song, before we sing a song, there's a proper way to introduce it. So utilizing all that information from honoring the people with your words, we can make a very simple chart or domain or whatever to make sure that we are introducing songs correctly. So ilib assist. When you're on the floor and before you're going to sing something, this is kind of an example of how we could get this done. Gotta admit, people. Should have been on time.
I know.
Assist. To you folks, my honorable people. So insert song name here. Abale T or T. This song was shared by this person or that person. All whatever tribe or wherever they come from. Sulat Sutli. Especially in like the high school environment, we have to sometimes, if you left it up to the kids, they'd all be on the floor and we couldn't even do anything. So sometimes we got to invite certain groups of people to the floor. And then we end with the good old Huyup Chud. So this is a very simple breakdown. I'd like to maybe work on this with y'all. I mean, that's why I'm here to speak a little bit of loot, right? Give me the loot. So hi, we'll start at the top. Gulapa se abdation. So telebub chas ati. Abalek T. Abalek C. All. Wherever they're from, sometimes you can say the tribe here. Sometimes there's even non-native folks that make songs, and they're like, oh, they're from Arkansas or something. I don't know. Sulat Sutsi. Literally, what this means is to come closer to the fire, because what's the word for middle? Something like that. There's a big fire in the middle. So when we invite people out to the floor, what we're saying is we want them to move closer to the fire. We want you to be a part of what we're doing. And then our favorite words, this is the ones we're looking for. Oil chud, oil chud. So that's kind of a real simple way you can introduce a song. Hey, to you folks, my people, we're going to be singing an honor song or a power song or a paddle song. This song was shared by whatever person. They're from the ʔukʷalad, they're from the txʷəl people. Come to the floor, I don't know, first grade, second grade, third grade, you older folks, you teenagers, you whoever. And then, we're finished, which is always like a good thing to say. What? Don't mean, Zeke. You know that guy. Oops, I guess you're So I'll talk a little bit, like this is kind of the part where I'm just going to kind of like talk how I want to talk. But there's been some interesting things that have happened. I've had an opportunity to have a few songs like come to me, and I try my best to share those with the community, and anything that has ever like come from Archie Cantrell is all public for everybody. And it's kind of interesting, like when you put it out there as public domain, what happens? I've got contacted by several people about like, hey, like we're with this school, or we're running this like orchestra, or we're doing this. Can we use one of your songs? And I'm like, putting that in an orchestra. I'm like, how would you put that in an orchestra? No idea. And so they'll send me this thing that has all these like musical notes. Like somehow they've taken everything that like we've done these songs, and they put them like in actual music that you can like that people smarter than me can read. And there's been a couple performances that have actually been opened up with some of the songs that we have created, and they're like, well, how would you want us to do it? I'm like, I don't know, like however feels good to you. I mean, it's wild. So I was seeing quite a few videos over the last couple of years of like the Pantages Theater or something. Like there's like these groups of kids and things that are opening up these I don't know, performances in Lushootseed, like using like brass instruments and flutes and I don't know all the proper terms for all of that. But I think it's amazing because our goal at the language program, number one, is to work ourselves out of a job. Like that literally should be like our mission statement. Like we want this language to be so alive and so well that you don't even need us anymore. That's the whole goal. But also sometimes it's like, how do we? I was trying to use a football term here, but like, how do we advance the ball forward? Like when it's our turn to take the handoff, how do we move it forward? And I think things like this and opening up Lushootseed to a completely new audience and in a completely weird environment to me for doing language songs, I feel like that's advancing the ball. And I think that's like one of our huge goals. I mean, along with that, like the city of Tacoma, they're like stamping Lushootseed in concrete around town. It's just a sense of how do we make this language not weird? How do we make our culture not weird for people? And most importantly, excuse me, how do we put our kids in an environment where they're growing up and it's like, oh, it's cool to be Indian? It's cool to speak language. It's cool to practice culture. It wasn't that cool when I was a kid. You know what I mean? Outside of like, powwows were fun, but we didn't speak much language back in when I was a kid. So I think like this contemporary approach on partnering with people, and even the fact that there's folks alive that can take tribal songs and like write them into a music language that is kind of like universal to that group of people, that's pretty amazing. So the contemporary stuff we have going on is pretty fun. I want to talk a little bit about kind of like my personal experience. I'm gonna leave another picture up here because I love singing. I'm like a singer. It's just kind of in my blood. But I wish there was a cool story. I got to bring a few new songs into the community. I wish I could say there was like this cool story where like, I went to Mount Rainier and I walked around it like 4 or 5 times and I saw like a bear and we prayed together and that's where the song came from. But that's usually not the case. I didn't go down to the river and ask for blessings or nothing like that. I started doing the first song I ever came up with was just because I was trying to remember the phrase, oh, txʷəl. Oh, txʷəl. I, for some reason, could not remember that phrase. It sounds easy now because we say it all the time now. But back then, it's like, how can I remember that? And I'm like, well, it's kind of like got a sexy rhythm to it just as the word is. It's like, oh, txʷəl. Oh, txʷəl. I mean, the songs write themselves. So really, I'm like, anytime I came up with a song like that, it was just because like me, I'm trying to remember it. Like I'm not trying to like, get out there and sing songs for people. I'm just trying to remember how to say this word. But then, I kind of liked the rhythm that we had. So I brought it to the group and I was like, we might have something here, guys. And so we started with the song, oh, txʷəl. I don't know if you guys maybe heard it somewhere around, but I mean, like, that's how that got started. The same thing I started next with, ʔukʷalad. I mean, that's quite a lot of things going on there. So I'm like, man, how do I remember that? And so I do got to start too.
with like, number one, I probably should have started this portion with this. The whole reason I even got started working on language was because of songs. So my dad was, let's see, legally blind, diabetic, I think had more than 2 organs replaced, and couldn't listen, couldn't hear in one ear. His mom, however, spoke a little bit. Prudence Matheson, my grandma, spoke a tiny bit of Lushootseed. And they had, we have family songs that come from my great grandma. So my dad would try his best to sing these songs, right, in Lushootseed. And, you know, it'd be like me trying to sing a song in like Spanish or something. Like I could like follow along with it a little bit, but I'm not hitting any of the characters. I don't know what I'm saying. It's just like, hey, this is a song that I like to sing. You know, it's our family song. And my dad died back in, '08. And Zeke started coming to work with the Puyallup Tribal Language Program in 14, something like that, when I was working at the youth center. And it just so happened that I was working at the youth center and the language department was also at the youth center. So Zeke came up, you know, because Zeke is actually a weird relation of mine because my grandma and his stepdad were siblings. So I knew of Zeke, you know, through family stuff, but like, I don't know him, you know, and so he contracted to work with the Puyallup tribe. And he came up and said, hey, Archie, you know, this is how we're related. I'm like, yeah, bro, like, I get it. Like, I'm with it. He's like, you should learn some language. I was like, hell no. I don't want nothing to do with that. Like, I got enough stuff going on. And so he badgered me for like, you know, a couple of weeks. He was up there for like 10 weeks or something. I was like, nah, man, I'm good. I'm busy. And it just so happened, like one day I was walking down the hallway and I heard Zeke singing one of those family songs. And I'm like, wait a minute, like you actually know the real words to these songs? He's like, yeah. I was like, can you teach me? He's like, are you going to come learn Lushootseed? All right. Because, you know, like we can't expect I don't know, we can't push language on like our kids or something like that. You know, in order to be an instructor, in order to advance language forward, we got to take it on ourselves. Because a lot of time we see in the community, like, oh, I want my kids to learn, or I want my students to learn. The problem is like, you have to learn, because Lushootseed can't walk out the door with me and expect it to like continue growing. So that's how I even got my start even working with language. I had no desire to do it at any point in my life. It was just like that chance occurrence that language department was in the same place as the youth center, and Zeke was singing that song at that time. And then I started getting into it, and I'm like, man, like I feel so connected with it. Like it's almost like an old friend I didn't even know I had. And number one, it's really cool to be able to like have a conversation and nobody knows what you're talking about. Like, you know, I don't know if y'all get pedicures or anything, but everybody's like, you don't know what those guys are saying down there. He's like, man, this guy needs to, I don't know, whatever. So I've been blessed to have a couple songs come down to me, and we share those with the community. But really, the first couple were just me trying to figure that out of learning phrases. Oh, shabiti chud. Oh, shabiti chud. You know, just things like that, because you know, that's how I remember it. As I advanced a little bit through my Lushootseed journey, there's songs, I don't know why songs like hit me every once in a while. I could get a melody, and then I bring it back to the bros at the language program, and I'm like, man, you know, we might be able to do something with this. And started coming up with like this paddle song for some reason, like hit me. And I'm like, I just feel like this should have Lushootseed in it. My one weird moment of like, you know, I'm doing something Indian and something Indian happens was like, I was paddling. We were going, what was that? I think it was, where were we going? Maybe it was the Puyallup. Maybe we were coming to our place. I don't know. We were on the canoe. And I'm like, I started like hitting like the, tease, it's just. And then I'm like, I don't. So it's kind of weird, like when you're creating songs and things, it's like sometimes like the melody will hit you, and then I'm like, now we gotta have the shoots in there too. I think it was like 2 years or something that we worked on a melody before the Lushootseed actually like fleets unleashed upon us. So I don't know. I don't really know like what I was supposed to say up here or anything like that. I'm like, I love to sing. I love to jam. I think I'm about to go to that coastal jam today up there at the Sercombe people. I just love to be a part of it. I love our culture, and to be able to have just a couple songs, even like kind of come through me somehow. And I can't ever take credit for any of these songs because every song that has ever kind of came through me, I take to my people too. And I'm like, how can we, finesse this to make it really sexy and sound really good? So it's not a one-man show ever. It's always a collaboration of people. And I think for that, it's kind of becomes more important to me. Like, oh man, me and my friends got to do this. Hey man, I might have had an idea, but those guys, help me make it fly. So I don't know, man. I love to sing. I love to be a part of it. I love to learn language, and songs is just one way that I got to further my own use. So thank y'all very much, man. Appreciate y'all time. See you down the road.
Laurel is selfish, dedicated, a true friend, both on this side and the other side. You can read her academic publications in the whatever it's called, agenda for today. Her dissertation is about songs in the stories, especially the person who would not wash his face, although his in-laws kept insisting that he do so. Laurel, for years, was in charge of the ethnomusicology archives. Any tribal person who came and wanted a copy got a copy. Within hours, within days. In that regard, her contributions to the dissemination of the stories, of the songs, continues within the Native community. That said, Laurel.
Hey, Jay, that's
Well,
enough.
Well, now,
Both work. Well, let's see if it's gonna work.
Laurel, can you speak loudly into
I will try.
Laurel, Seatstaff. I want to acknowledge at the start that I'm an outsider to Lushootseed culture. I've listened to and appreciated Lushootseed stories and songs for many years, and I hope my appreciation and respect will come through in my presentation. Listening to the songs and Lushootseed stories, Indigenous knowledge has been handed down over the generations in many forms, including stories. Many of us know the voices of ancestors like Martha Lamont, Annie Daniels, and Susie Sampson Peter, as well as many others, Hagan Sam, Dora Solomon, Harry Moses, Martin Sampson, and of course many others. We've heard them telling stories on recordings that were made back in the 1950s and 60s by anthropologists and linguists. Then along comes txʷəl by Hilbert. I probably spent thousands of hours listening to the recordings of Lushootseed stories told by these elders. She carefully transcribed the stories. She translated them into English. Many of them were published during her lifetime. Ultimately, she integrated many of these stories
into her own storytelling performances. The Lushootseed story tradition, of course, goes back many generations. We know that all around the Puget Sound region, not just in Lushootseed country, but all around the Puget Sound region, stories were told during the winter to both children and adults. Stories mostly take place during the myth era, when the animals were people. The myth era is then transformed by a changer figure, known to Lushootseed speakers as ʔukʷalad. As the changer, ʔukʷalad, encountered each of the animal people, they were changed to the form that we know them today. So from that point on, the animals are animals and the people are human beings. Now, these stories that these elders told us often include little songs. The songs are sung by characters in the stories. They usually appear at a crucial point in the story, where the action needs to be moved along somehow in the narrative. They're often humorous also. Storytellers, of course, have different approaches to telling stories. Some storytellers sing these little songs when they come across them in the stories. Some storytellers refer to the songs, often like grandmother in the Star Child's story. She will say, the storyteller will say, and then grandma sang her song when she discovered that the baby was made out of wood. But they won't actually sing the song. And then some storytellers don't refer to the songs at all. Now, Vi Hilbert was among those who did not sing the songs in the stories, with one exception that we'll get to in just a minute. In the Lushootseed world, of course, songs are associated with spiritual power. So in the appearance of a song in a story suggests that somehow spiritual power is being called upon. The songs in these stories may imitate real power songs, possibly as a teaching device for children. They're only real power songs in the sense that they are real for the character in the story. They're not real power songs. Some of the songs in the stories have lyrics, and some have just vocables like ha ha he, ho ho, things like that. And sometimes the songs have both words and vocables. Okay, the first story and song we're going to look at is the story of Speets. Jay mentioned the story of Dirty Face, or Speets, or the man who would not wash his face. Speets is called by the names of the various birds that he is associated with. All these birds have a dark gray or brown hood or face markings. Now this one's the Oregon Junco. Some storytellers specifically identified Speets as being Oregon Junco. But some storytellers say it's thrush, it's wren, snowbird, it's ground sparrow, it's swamp sparrow. And of course, the story and the song take place in the myth era. So Speets is an animal person, not a bird. Okay, here's the story. Speets lived with his wife's family. His job was to bring in the wood every day. And every day, his face got dirtier and dirtier from the soot as he carried the wood in and out to build the fire. Now, his wife's relatives complained every day, "You need to go and wash your face." And he'd say, "No, no." But every day, they'd come back at him and say, "You need to go and wash your face. You got a dirty face." He got pretty angry. He got sick of this. So he went down to the river and he sang a song. And he called on his ilib, his ancestors, his family, his relatives, called upon them to help him because he had a complaint. Well, at that, the south wind relatives came up. They brought a big storm. The snow melted. The whole world flooded, and that was the end of everything. Okay, that's the story. But actually, that little short story is sometimes told on its own, but it's actually a part of the longer Lushootseed epic narrative that tells the whole story of how the changer came, how ʔukʷalad changed, and the world was changed. But this is just one little episode of that story. Okay. Oops, wrong computer. Okay, we're going to hear a little bit of the story of Speech, and I want you to hear the song that Speech sings. This is the moment of truth. I see if the audio actually works. Okay, our storyteller is Annie Daniels, Duwamish and Muckleshoot elder. She's speaking in Southern Lushootseed, of course. The recording was made by Leon Metcalf in 1954 at her home on the Muckleshoot Reservation. So listen for Dirty Face's song. It's about a minute, I think, a minute and a half of the story. And then she sings a little song. So that's as far as we're going to go.
May 1st, 1954, Muckleshoot Reservation. Annie Daniels speaking in the Duwamish language, telling the story of Speech.
Utlaatjupti Speech. Aakidu tlaatjupti esoda but tlaatjashu sukhulahu atlas txვəl txვəl. Tot begotie dat is haltens. Oh, tot agotje boxia chotlo atlakas. Look nog txuti txвəl. Laat asje. Tot nog die haltens. Oh. So dat gaat het goed zo trekt zo wat agus op de gwachtjes gehoord shababet. Gehoord zo shababet. Hol gaat het. Oh, steeds. Tot al te mocht is slade goed is net zo gaat het zo. Och dis haltens gelap to dis is lap dolis gelgoit te betil ka da elochtis Speech och te mochtis Speech tagos klob goed tagos is tagos de lukis kwak ol bin stil haltens Ooit echt goed is tola kol agos nog die loop ilib bol is gaat die da kuchat lo ya qos bach ya labs gŵat Bol اشتغلت Na kuchad oya qos اشتغلت Oy kul qalbak
I found about 10 versions of this song by 7 different singers among the old recordings. None of them sound exactly alike, but they share what Vi Hilbert called the backbone of the song. Now we're going to listen to the song again. The backbone of the song is in the words, and Archie kind of set this all up for us when he talked about the rhythm of the words giving in the song. Okay, first listen for the word ilib, which we see in many of the versions of this story in the song, where Speech is calling on his relatives. That's when he brings his power to bear. Okay, so ilib. And then the last line of the song, Annie Daniels repeats over and over, ʔukʷalad. It rained, and it rained. Okay, so we're getting into what the backbone is of both the story and the song here. Okay.
Bol Da kuchad lo ya qos bach ya labs xʷgʷadədgୱəd. Mola mola txʷəl. Na xʊxad oya qoqyaqos txəl. Oy kul qalbaq.
Let's hear another version of the song. This one was sung by Martha Lamont. It was recorded by Tom Hess in 1966. Martha Lamont didn't record the story, but she told Tom Hess that the song was the song of Oregon Junco, the song that went with the flood story. Now again, listen for the word ilib. And in this case, she's going to be referring to the rain as txwush, which is the southern Lushootseed word for misty rain, at least as I understand it. Okay, so here's Martha Lamont singing her version of the Speaks song.
Txwush, txwush,
Okay. The Lushootseed word ilib is present in almost all the versions of the song that I found. And I think this is central to understanding both the story and the song. In the story, Dirty Face or Speaks goes to the river and addresses his relations to the south, his ilib, to complain about his in-laws and to ask for help. What connects the various versions of the story is the rhythmic pattern created by the words ilib, short, long, ilib, or ilib, long, short, long, ilib. We know that stories were shared among communities around the Puget Sound area, and each storyteller had her or his own way of telling the story and singing the song. The appearance of ilib in most versions gives the story a rhythmic coherence, as well as underlying and unifying the theme of the story itself. The song within the story also contributes to the backbone of the overall narrative. Both Annie Daniels and Martha Lamont repeat the word for rain in a rhythmic way. Martha Lamont repeats the word for misty rain, txwush, txwush, txwush. And Annie Daniels repeats the word hob in the phrase ʔukʷalad, ʔukʷalad. It's interesting that Martha Lamont, a northern Lushootseed speaker, uses the southern Lushootseed word txwush in the song. When I was learning about these songs, I found that many cases where the language of the song was different from the language of the story. There are a lot of stories told, for instance, in the txʊwana language that have words in southern Lushootseed. So this sort of suggests what we already know, that stories were shared widely around Puget Sound from one community to another. So one reason, of course, to tell stories if children are present is as a teaching device. And the story of Speaks has many aspects of teaching that could have been relevant. The importance of cleanliness and family relationships, the association with spiritual power, the power of language, and of course the importance of place. And then speaking of place, there's Duwamish Hill, said to be the site of big battle between South Wind and North Wind. Okay. I'm going to share one more example. Basket Ogress, or Witch Woman, is a different kind of story. Does it take place in the myth era? Most of the characters in the Basket Ogress story are human children. The story also includes Basket Ogress and a very powerful song. There are many versions of this story, but the one I want to share is the one told by Charlie Anderson, by Hilbert's father, who was recorded telling this story in English to Willard Rhodes back in 1950. In this version, a group of children are camping, some girls, and one boy who has a humpback. Day after day, the girls give the boy the tail part of the dry salmon that they're sharing for lunch. And after his complaints every day are ignored, he wants the better part of the salmon, and they don't, even though they say they're going to give it to him, they don't. His complaints are ignored, so he goes down to the water, just like Speeds did, and he sings a song. The song brings the basket ogress to where the children are. She captures them all in her basket, but the boy escapes. When she gets home, she tells the girls to build a fire so she can roast them. They trick her and push her into the fire, and that's the end of the basket ogress. As in the Speed story, the boy's song moves the action of the story along, and it has the power to call basket ogress. Is this his spirit power song? If so, it nearly backfires. Fortunately, his power is strong enough to elude the basket ogress's grasp, and he escapes, having gotten his revenge on the girls. But the girls then come up with their own scheme to get rid of her. One can imagine all kinds of lessons that this story was meant to teach children. I'm going to play you just a part of the story that Charles Anderson told in English in 1950. He begins the story with the song that the humpback boy then uses later in the story to call basket ogress.
The children are out camping, girls and one boy that had a hump on his back. They have lunch. They have dry salmon for their lunch. And they roast this dry salmon, and they divide it between the bunch, and they give this humpback the tail part of the dry salmon. They done that every time they eat lunch. And the little humpback said, if you girls do that to me all the time, I call for that witch woman to come down. And the girl says, no, next time we eat lunch, we give you the best part of the dry salmon. All right. The next time we eat lunch, they give him a tail part again. So this little humpback, he walked down the beach and they sing this song. So this witch woman come down with the basket into this where these children camp, and first one they grab this humpback, put it in a basket on her back, and grab all the children. She walked up the woods to her home. And you're going to have good feast when you eat up these children. And every time they come to a limb, it's hanging down. Well, the little humpback, it grabs, pull, just to try. So he must get out from the basket on the way gone. When this witch woman got to her home and count how many children he's got, and the little humpback is gone. So he told the children, you children make fire, big fire on top of those rocks. And she run down, look for this little humpback. When she got down to the beach, well, the little humpback was way out on the canoe. You can't get him. So she run back up to the woods where the girls is. The fire was real hot now. And these girls had the sticks, all sticks, every one of them, but they had it hid away so that this witch woman won't see it. And the bigger girls tell one another, we push her in the fire. So they pushed her in, and she fell right over the fire, and this girl said sticks, it just held her down, and this witch woman asked for help, and girls told her, we're trying to pull you away from the fire, but you're so heavy. Well, we just held her down there and she died. It's the end of it.
The recording of Charles Anderson was made back in 1950, and it was those recordings are still located at the Library of Congress. Many years ago, we tracked those recordings down because txʷəl knew that they were there, and we were finally able to get copies. Basket Ogres was the only story that Charles Anderson recorded. There's a whole recording of him, but it's all songs, but this is the one story he told. After listening to the recording, txʷəl transcribed the English version that her father told, and she translated it into Lushootseed. When she told the story publicly, she alternated between Lushootseed and English line by line, as she generally did in her storytelling. And unexpectedly, she sang the song that introduces the story and that the boy uses to call Basket Ogres. The song appears to have lyrics. It may be that Vi translated the song text that her father sang as, that witch woman doesn't come here where these people are, because she uses this as the opening line of the story, a line that her father didn't speak. So here is the story as performed by Vi Hilbert, including the song, and a second song, the source of which I do not know, and maybe some of you do. Okay.
But his story goes like this. That witch woman come here where these people are? Txʊ, tiʔə. They were there. Tiʔə. These girls, and this one young man. This young man had a hump on his back. Every day, these children would stop for lunch. They had dried salmon for their lunch. They roasted this dried salmon. They divided it into pieces. And they would give to this young man the tail part of the salmon. Every day. Just the tail part of the salmon did they give to this young man. One day, the young man said, I hate the tail part of the salmon. You girls keep giving me the tail part of the salmon. I don't like it. Oh. The next time we fix lunch, we are going to give you the good part of the salmon. Oh, okay. At noontime, they roasted salmon. And they gave the young man the tail part of the salmon. The young man got very angry. You said you were going to give me the good part of the salmon, and I'm still getting the tail part. So he went down to the water, and he sang this song. This witch woman doesn't come here where these children are. This witch woman doesn't come here where these children are. Basket ogres heard the song. So she came. And she put these children into her big basket. My mother said that this basket was made of woven snakes. That's what my mother said. So it probably was. She said so. Now the basket ogres went home. As she traveled through the woods, little hunchback grabbed a hold of a limb, and my dad said, he must have got away. Very laconic my dad was when he talked, when he told stories. He must have got away. So now the basket ogres arrived home. And she said to the children, the girl children, I'm going to go look for that young man that's not in this basket. You girls build a hot fire on those rocks while I'm gone, you do that. Oh, all right. ʔukʷalad txʷəl. Lushootseed tiʔə, the fish. And the basket overs saw little hunchback paddling as fast as he could away from shore. She picked up great big rocks and she threw them at him. And he lifted his paddle up and the rocks would just go through his paddle. And he kept paddling away. She kept throwing great big rocks at him. And each one of those rocks became a little mountain that you can still see out in the Skagit area. That's why they are there. These were the rocks that the basket overs threw at little hunchback, trying to stop him before he got away. Now, she returned. She couldn't get little hunchback, so she returned to the woods. The girls had built a big fire. Also, they had gone out into the forest, and they had cut for them some long poles, forked poles, and they hid them. Now, ʔukʷalad came back there. She saw, oh, good, the girls have a nice hot fire going. The girls knew what was going to happen to them, and so they were prepared. ilib ʔukʷalad. Now, the basket ogress was so happy that the girls had followed instructions and built a nice hot fire, because now she didn't have to wait for her dinner. She could roast them right away, because she had children that were hungry too, and she needed to roast these children. So she got ready to start cooking them, but before she did, she began to sing as she danced around the fire. And she sang, ʔukʷalad, ʔukʷalad, and the girls said, I could push her. Look, she gets dizzy when she comes around there. Inadequacies. What are you girls saying? Oh, we're just saying what a beautiful voice you have, basket ogress. Won't you please sing some more? You sing so pretty. I do have a pretty voice, don't I? And she danced around the fire. As she came around this corner, she got dizzy and she lost her balance as they pushed her over and they pushed her down on the hot rocks and they took their forked sticks and they pressed her as hard as they could until she was burning on the fire, on those hot rocks. And my mother said she begged the children to take her off the rocks. And my dad said, the children said, please girls, get me off of these rocks. And the girls said, we're trying, but you're so heavy. And my dad chuckled. A good one on the basket ogress. And that's how basket ogress died. The children worked together and they pushed her on those hot rocks until she indeed died. But you know, basket ogress had children that still wander the earth, and they get the children were out after dark. You remember that? The little children are not to play out after dark because there's still basket ogresses out there that are very dangerous. That's the end of the story, and you may say, Abu, Abu.
So this is just a small sample of the songs that the elders shared on the old recordings, The songs really help bring the stories to life, and they still teach us today. Thank you for your patience. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I just love how first we had Archie talking about sort of laying some foundation and talking about the txʷəl and then went into the contemporary songs and how the songs fall upon us. And then we got to hear some of our elders, our ancestors, sharing some songs. So thank you. What a beautiful blend that is. And now I know we're running a little bit behind. We're just things happening the way they're intended to happen, right? That you can't force stuff all the time. So I'd like to invite another one of our board members. She's been a longstanding board member with Lushootseed Research. And I'll invite Barbara Brotherton up. Thank you for all of your service to Lushootseed. And Barbara is going to introduce our next speakers.
Okay. I'm going to introduce Warren KingGeorge and Betty KingGeorge, who are going to present. I'd like to say a few words about them. Personally, I'm greatly indebted to them as former curator of the Seattle Art Museum, an institution that takes care of the belongings of Coast Salish and other Native peoples. And Betty and Warren have always been so willing to be advisors, to offer guidance to us, and to come and greet people who come to look at the Coast Salish art. They also did a wonderful, one of my favorite exhibitions ever at the Burke Museum called Salish Bounty, Indigenous Foods of the Puget Sound. I hope you all got to see that. Elizabeth KingGeorge is an enrolled member of the Nooksack Indian tribe and descendant of Łakamel First Nations and Cowichan First Nations of British Columbia. She is a student at the University of Oklahoma, currently working on obtaining her master's degree in Indigenous Peoples Law. Elizabeth is an active and skilled weaver using many mediums and applications. She is a recipient of the traditional cultural practices of her people and born and raised in the Pacific Northwest. She conducts workshops for her people on the benefits of traditional foods and shares her knowledge of how to gather, preserve, and prepare these wonderful foods of the Cascade Mountains and the Salish Sea. Warren KingGeorge is an enrolled member of the Muckleshoot Indian tribe through his father's bloodline and a descendant of the Upper Skagit tribe through his mother. He is employed with the Muckleshoot Indian Tribe Preservation Program as the tribal historian. Warren has worked for the tribe for the past 31 years, and his work includes collecting and recording oral history from tribal and community members. Oral history projects range from hunting, fishing, and clamming stories on the Puget Sound to berry picking trips in the Cascade Mountains. He works with a variety of government agencies to ensure treaty rights access and to create management plans to maintain and enhance our valuable cultural resources. Additionally, he has worked with museums, colleges, and public schools to provide lectures on the rich history and traditions of the culture, which is now known today as the Muckleshoot. Warren has been a member of the Burke Native American Advisory Board since 2007 and served on the executive committee from 2019 to the present. I'd like you to welcome Warren and Betty KingGeorge. Thank you.
On behalf of my wife and my traditional teachers, we'd like to thank you for providing this opportunity for us to gather and talk about important things concerning the language and the culture of the Pacific Northwest people. Really nice to hear the previous presenters utilizing the songs and the language. Truly a good reflection of the direction of the language and culture, which way it's headed. Nice to see the native and non-native interest in this important topic. And it's one of those, I guess, the characteristics of our txʷəl. It almost went away, completely went away. The efforts by some of our neighbors was nearly successful. And if it wasn't for the generosity, and if it wasn't for the understanding of our elders who took steps to acknowledge that and to preserve a little bit of our history and culture through their language and song. And I'm truly grateful for those elders who were willing to see that and had the foresight to fight that, to prevent that from happening. And it's with the efforts of the people in this room and people who are virtual that you're continuing their work. This is not our work, this is their work. And I'm truly grateful for all of that effort and sacrifice that's in this room and virtual. Thank you. I just want to encourage you. What you're doing is truly a wonderful thing, and I'm grateful for it. Truly. So there's through my wife and I's experiences, we don't have a presentation. It was the goal of our time here was to expose you to language and song and culture the way we were taught through sitting and visiting, through talking, and getting to know one another through testimonies. Our elders, our teachers were real generous in that regard. And it took a lot of patience from the recipients, from students, from family members to sit and watch a grandmother put her basket together, or to watch a grandfather prepare a meal for the family. And during these processes, what we consider just normal daily events, these teachings would come out, and they would get us to reflect on some of the trails that we've walked and reflect on some of those experiences that we've had. And it's through these simple events of the day that really were powerful enough to imprint that emotion that we often can't translate into English or translate into Lushootseed. There's just no word to cover heartfelt sorrow. There's no word to cover that emotion of the birth of your first child or your first grandchild. And you can say that, but when you add song to those emotions, when you add song to bless the food, and you add song to bless the day, or to request healing in any type of recovery, there's song that will enhance that. And you heard one of the speakers about the presenters about Salus, about the Junko. My late grandmother, my mother's mother, she used to share that story, but it was a little different the way she used that story. It wasn't just for its entertainment value. It wasn't something that it wasn't like a cartoon is to our children today. That's not what it was about. It was a way to translate the values that we really embraced, that our ancestors really embraced and lived by, that helped guide them on their trail. And so that song, when I got to hear that story and part of that song, brought me back to my sitting watching my late grandmother, Alice Williams, my late mother's mother. She used to get real upset at the paspasted, at the chonitums. And when she would get upset, she would tell that story. There's a part of that story that evokes, that calls the storm, that calls the water, calls the rain. Well, Grandma was born and raised on the Skagit River. And then when she would get upset, and she would get really upset, I mean, she wouldn't use English. She would get upset in her language. And then she would sit us down and we'd hear that story. And there were certain words in it that would triggers, what we call, best way to describe is triggers. These triggers were used in the story, and the Skagit River would swell up, would just get, it's big now, but when she told the story, that story would call the rain, and this rain would just, the river would just swell up. It would, impressive. It's impressive now, but you add, a half a days of hard rain, boy, scary river then. Boy, that's when Grandma would get real upset, that story. So the presenter was right. There's context that you can use that will help people understand that this, I'm going to tell the story, but I want you to grab the values. Or I'm going to tell the story, but I'm going to call the rain. And that's enough sunshine. That's enough heat. I'm going to call the rain now. And those elders knew what words to use, what not to use. And those taboo words, that witch woman is also kind of a taboo in our culture. There's certain people who won't, you just mention it once and they'll turn around and walk away from you because they don't want to hear it again. You can only say that word so many times without calling misfortune. They believe that to this day. But there's things that we can't convey in English or in Lushootseed. And as an example, I want to share a story with you about how a song came a few years ago about one we use for a table song today. We're thanking the cooks and thanking the sacrifices that were made to feed the people. And it was on an August day. It was really hot, several days in a row, no rain. And I felt, went home. I went running home for some reason. I ran home to water the garden. That's what I was doing. I was watering the plants, my ʔukʷalad potatoes and the wild onion. And I turned the sprinkler on, and watched it for a few minutes. And then off to my left, there's a big txʷəl. The red elderberry tree was to my left, just full of the red elderberry. Well, in that tree were dozens and dozens of the chickadee, and they were just singing, chirping. And so I watched them for a while. I said, "Oh, okay, I'll move it." So I moved the sprinkler over to the red elderberry tree and let the water shower them. And they sang the most beautiful song you've ever heard. That was the gift that our family, it's now a family song, received because of that one little gesture to our bird, to the bird people, relatives to little birds. And we use that song today now to say, not in so many ways, but the best way to say it is we're going to use this song to say bless you and thank you. It's one of those things that happens once in a lifetime, and we're truly grateful for that. And so that's as just one example of what a song means to not just txʷəl, but for all people. We all have those songs that we really rely on heavily and lean on heavily to convey messages. So we're going to use this song now to convey the message for thank you. And we're going to ask you, you don't have to stand, you don't have to remove your hats, but this is to all you people here and the people virtual. We want to thank you for providing this opportunity for us to come and share just a few words about the value of song, and the value of language, and what it can and what it cannot do. So if you'll just bear with us, we appreciate your time. Okay, so we're just going to set this down for a second. Please go. Shabbat is Yaya. So when we can't find the words, when we can't use our face to show expression, the expression and how we feel, this is what we do. We sing these songs that help convey that about the special time or the special place, and we evoke those spiritual powers, those guardian spirits to bless and thank. And it really means the gesture on our end is all that we have and all that you are. We're grateful and thankful for that opportunity. It truly does. It really does say more than thank you and bless you. If you have an open mind and an open heart, you can really feel what the ancestors or what they want to say, what they want to do for you. And so we can convey those through emotions, through song, just as they do today, right? I mean, we turn on the radio and we get to hear Alice in Chains, really get you going, or Ozzy Osbourne, in my wife's case. Really get you Yeah, on our way here, so we listened to. All stuck in just a little bit of traffic, but song is amazing, beautiful, and truly does have a special place in everyone's heart, in everyone's day-to-day business. I mean, I loved hearing those recordings of the old timers singing. Our old relatives, that Daniel's through my late father's side, that's my great grand aunt, at Daniel's auntie. And Vi Hilbert's a cousin from my late grandmother, from my mother's mother, the Williams side. So there's just things about song that help us with our identity, that help us convey messages, and that help us heal. And we can use it in many different ways. So we're really grateful for this opportunity to share just a little bit. I mean, there's much more to it than what you've seen and what you've heard today, because there's context as well, right? You've got to have context. You've got to have, if you're going to go pick the berries, if you're going to go paddle the canoe, if you're going to do the carving, if you got wintertime means something different to us as well. So you've got seasons that have special songs that have special meanings. And so with that, I think I want to end my short little talk there. And I want to provide my wife some really nice, she has some testimonies that I think would also help you understand the importance and the value of song.
Hello, everybody. My name is Lushootseed. I come from Nixac, Lackamel, and Cowichan. I grew up in the Fraser Valley area. My parents, when we were young, my brother and sister and I, they would bring us up to Canada to visit different villages up there. And they had their longhouses up there, but we didn't participate in the longhouse portion of it, but we utilized that area, the kitchen, and my parents would drop us off there. And there was other children around our age that would be there too. And what we would do there is we weren't told exactly what it was that we were supposed to do. We were expected to do what we were there for. And we had a group of elders that would sit on one side of the room of the area, and us children would stand in a circle. And women, the girls would be here and the boys would be over here, and we would sing. And the elders would listen to us sing these songs. We learned the table song, we learned the blessing song, we learned the paddle song, the journey song. We learned songs that we would sing when we would lose somebody. It would help heal the family, help them with the pain that they were experiencing. And those were the things that we learned when I was growing up. We would just be dropped off there, and then the elders, they wouldn't really say anything. They would just let us sing. And then if one of the boys was drumming too loud, or if one of the kids were moving around too much, they would say something, and they would gently correct us. It was an experience that was humble. It wasn't for show. It wasn't for recording. It wasn't for, I can sing better than you, or I can sing these many songs or louder or whatever. It was basically them teaching us how to be people who experience who they are just by being. And that's one of the things that I think Warren wanted me to explain, that I got to experience growing up as a child in the Fraser Valley area.
And that's something that we don't do that very often now. I think now they call them jam sessions. Yeah, but it's the same thing. And it's, it's where you're taught protocol, where you're taught the instrument that you carry. even conveys a message. Some people use drums, some people use rattles, some people use the txʊgʷəl, clappers, and you know that conveys a message to other drummers and other singers that about your identity, about who you are and where you come from. So I really envy Betty's experience with her elders, being able to sit and being able to listen and enjoy and participate in such events. You know, when was the last time someone, I don't know if that even happens anymore. I think we used to sing with the late Bruce Miller. He used to come over and we'd sing the Slough songs all day and sit in the room and just, with one drum. And even going on the road trips, long drives, that was one of our pastimes. We'd turn the radio up and he'd sing Slough songs and be able to identify what region where they came from, or whether they were Yakima, Colville, Puget Sound. That was great fun. But one other thing that I wanted to what I think is important. When Grandma used to sit and weave her baskets, the hard coil baskets, the txʷəl, the waterproof baskets, the txʊl baskets, the trade baskets, she used to kind of whistle songs while she did it. And then she would stop right in the middle of it, and she would stop moving and she'd sit and be quiet and listen. And she would listen to birds sing. Grandma Alice used to sit and listen to the birds, and then she would translate in Lushootseed. And she would say, "This is what that bird is saying. This is what it would be towards the end of the night or in the very early morning." And when the robins really get vocal, she would really listen hard, and it had the ability to translate that. It was just a beautiful thing. I've never seen that before. But another bird story I wanted to share with you, Betty and I experienced, has to do with song. It was, we were in the Cedar River gathering. I think we were doing nettles. We had to go higher up because it was later in the season. So we were up getting fresh nettles up at the Walsh Lake, a place called Walsh Lake. And it was just beautiful up there. We brought a lunch and had sandwiches. And we're sitting there at the shores of this little lake. And you could hear the song of the red-winged blackbird. And those of you who are familiar with that wetland song, the red-winged blackbird, just beautiful little whistle, right? Just a beautiful one. Well, as we were finishing up our lunch, and we noticed a raptor, ʔukʷalad was there, and it came down, the bald eagle, and it came swooped down into the cattail marsh there on the border of this little lake, little pond, and land must have either ate the redwing's chicks, and we sat in awe because we saw Mother Nature in action. That was unfortunate. We really felt bad about that, but all of a sudden, right after the attack, right after this bald eagle exercised his rights, I guess, and the most sorrowful, the most hurtful song you've ever heard began to come from the marsh. It was the red-winged blackbird was singing this most. Betty looks at me and she goes, "That is the most sorrowful song I have ever heard about how a young." So I think it's the males, if I'm not mistaken, that sing. He was singing the loss of his children by this bald eagle. But that one, we keep that song to ourselves. That's just too much, right? That's how Mother Nature is. That's how a lot of the songs that we use and carry, and we get to experience those just one time, that one-time experience, and it stays with you forever. I couldn't imagine what it would be like, but that was probably one of the most powerful song experiences that I've ever seen in nature in my time. So that's just an example of why we try to make these connections with Mother Nature, because she's so generous, not just with the material that we get to eat and the medicines and that we can use to heal ourselves, but she also provides this wonderful, wonderful gift of song, and we're truly grateful for that. And you get that from context. We would have never been able to experience any of that if we weren't going out doing one thing and encountered another. I go to water the garden and encounter another. We go to harvest nettle and we encounter this wonderful opportunity, once in a lifetime. And so this is, I think, a part of something that we need to really also focus on as well. Context. The recordings are great. Do not get me wrong. I think they're a wonderful, wonderful gift, and actually a beautiful start. But if we can maybe learn that story and maybe a couple of the songs, then go out and watch the junco. Go out and observe that junco in your backyard or down the river or down at the creek or down at the park, and then apply that to your story. Watch the junco for a while and see how if there's anything about the character of that bird that might reveal itself to you and provide that memory. And as the elders retell the story again on these recordings, see what happens. See how that moves you and touches you. Okay. So with just these few little anecdotes, these little testimonies that we have, we're grateful and thankful once again to the people here who came in out of pure interest, right? Because of this is something you're passionate about, and I truly hope that you do take this interest and keep moving forward with it. I encourage you, and grab a hold of a couple young ones while you're at it. Take them along with you on this trail of discovery of song and language and culture. Take them with you so that they don't get deprived of this wonderful gift, truly wonderful gift. So on behalf of my wife and on behalf of our traditional teachers, we'd like to thank you, each and every one of you. Sure.
So I'd like to just bring Laurel Sercombe back up to share. So Laurel was the steward of all this massive, wonderful collection, University of Washington, for many years, and some years ago she retired from that position. Yes, we're very sad about that. But she stays connected, and to John Vallier, who could not make it today, Laurel is going to share some information about how to access these wonderful resources.
Okay, I'll just take a minute here. In your packet is a little slip of paper. It has a QR code on it. John Vallier prepared this for us. I'm not going to try to get on a browser now because I'm now so suspicious of the computers here. But what the QR code gets you to is what is called the LibGuide. The library system at the University of Washington has prepared all of these guides to specific subject areas. So John has prepared a LIB guide on Lushootseed, doing research on Lushootseed areas within the library system. And once you get to that LIB guide, there are different categories of information that you can click on and find out, you know, who should I call if I want to explore recordings? Who should I call if I want to look at documents? That kind of thing. Now, this is just resources in the library system at UW, but don't forget there are all kinds of other resources. The Bird Museum, of course, is a wonderful resource. ʔukʷalad, with the intellectual house on campus, they have wonderful resources. And then the American Indians and Indigenous Studies Center, I believe, is another place to go. So the information that you'll get by going to this LIB guide is really specific to the library system. And that's all I'm going to say about it.
Thank you very much. So now I would like to invite Kriska. Kriska is a board member at Lushootseed Research and has studied and worked with VIA for many, many years, and part of our Lushootseed family. So Kriska is going to introduce our next presenter.
Thank you, Jill. Wonderful to be here. So exciting to hear the different directions and sensitivities that all the presenters have given. And it's my honor to introduce Lois Landgrebe, who's our next presenter. She is part of the txʷəl Lushootseed language department, and she was born in Seattle, Washington. Her family name on her mother's side are the Henrys. Lois's maternal grandmother was Duwamish from the Jackson family and a descendant of Chief Seattle. On her birth father's side, Mrs. Landgrebe is also Nez Perce. She attended Wenatchee Valley Community College and Antioch University, where she furthered her education with a bachelor's degree in liberal studies and a minor in elementary education. Ms. Lois has worked with several tribal language departments, instructing and assisting in language revitalization. She's had the rare privilege of working with all of those three people who created the Lushootseed dictionary. She's been working on this for a long time. She was the first txʷəl tribal member to be hired into the Lushootseed language program under the txʷəl Cultural Resources Department back in September of 1994. Now, Mrs. Landgrebe didn't grow up with her people. She met her birth mother, Carol McKay, and learned of history, stories, and cultural teachings during her Lushootseed work time. So it's another way that Lushootseed works to bring people together. We're happy to have her with us today.
Oh, folks, good friends. Thank you for being here today. You all honor me by listening and sharing the information. Michelle Balaget, ʔukʷalad, these dots. So ʔukʷalad is her Indian name. She asked about 2 months ago if I could do a presentation today on singing and songs. So I gotta set up for a second here. Okay, so let's quit all chat. So the strength in our singing. I want to start out with a song with everybody. And this is a very non-evasive song that we've had around since the beginning of time, since the beginning of the Lushootseed language program. And it goes, it's an echo, I'll say, and you guys say it. So, txʷəl, gʷat, So I have parents of my actual students going, oh my goodness, I grew up to that song. So working with the language as long as I have, I've come across that now, and you start realizing loads of chud. I'm getting old. So benefits of singing. So you have to excuse that I'm a little technical, thinking scientifically and then more culturally. So the benefits of the singing there is, so sorry guys. It supports social skill development for children. It can also do that txвэл ilib, you know, grown-ups too. Promotes social inclusion. So I really like where singing does not eliminate anybody, even if you're off key, even if it is a universal acceptance. Singing boosts your confidence. So I think learning through song is definitely builds character and self-esteem, and connects you with other individuals. And this is all across multiple cultures. Let you express yourself. So you could be in the shower and you could be in your car, just expressing, through a song that nostalgically reminds you of your childhood. Engages the emotions. I had an emotional moment this week. I teach first graders, and my first grade class is learning about songs this week, songs of the first salmon ceremony. And I opened up one of my big circle with the blessing of the fisherman song. And this class is, if all of you have been teachers, has been like the challenging class. And then there's that class that are high cap, and then there's the mediocre, common class. This class this week shocked me. And it just, emotion, it almost brought tears to my eyes. And I started drumming the song, and 10, 12 kids stood up, dashed up, and stood all about me, facing and wanting to be a part of that song. And it just, and there was only about 6 or 7 kids still sitting, on the rug, just kind of shocked. But to me, and when they sat back down afterwards, I had an emotional moment of thanking them for doing that with me. I said that was a mature step to stand up and support and be a part of the song. Even the teacher was nodding. She was just so proud of them. So I just wanted to share that, engages the emotion. Benefits of singing, continuing. Singing involves deep breathing, controlling respiratory your respiratory system improves. Even ailments that's part of can actually be strengthened and pushed aside and prevented through ilib. Singing helps improve memory. Now I could be singing the Beatles and I could be singing Lady Gaga or whatever, but I still have memory issues. And of course, it shows dementia, Alzheimer's, experiencing slower memory when you recollect through melodies. Music has a way of helping to continue connecting to your past, connecting you to others. So it's pretty important with singing. Of course, we just went over that. txʷəl all eat. Lessons snoring. Now, what happened to me, I became what we call a sacred dancer. I don't know what happened, but I sing a lot, especially in the winter, and I'm still snoring. My snore actually worsened. So I went the other way. But in this study, they did it with spouses and choir members. And so they wanted to see if the spouse can connect with, did their snoring improve? And it showed it has. Also, singing helps with grief. Yeah, so ʔukʷalad, txʷəl. It shows that, again, another study in 2019 with choir members. So it's showing that, again, that singing and being a part of a group, moving forward in programs, choir programs, shows that their grief was less than if somebody didn't participate in choir. Improve speaking abilities. This is a stuttering and other type speaking abilities. So singing actually helps with that. I can't remember. There was a gentleman that had a stutter and he was a Western singer. And when he sang, he had the most beautiful voice. So to me, that was, that show, I was amazed that he could barely speak sentences, but when he grabbed his guitar and started singing, he was gone, and his voice, everything, not one lick of stuttering or anything. So I thought that was amazing. And I was a little girl going, wow, it's like he changed. Singing improves your well-being. Be stressed and relax. It's amazing how they did this with the stress hormone in saliva. So to show that it actually lessens. Listening comprehension is best taught through singing because I think some of us grew up with this. The next slide I'll show, because it actually helped me. So recollecting and comprehension. So there was a lot of this out on Saturdays, if some of you can remember. So it actually shows that, songs, singing, fun, rhythm, it was all in Schoolhouse Rock, which helped contribute to children's learning. So at the txʷəl tribe's Lushootseed language department, we put together an annual, all year round curriculum for the early learning, baby side, so it's from birth to 3 on one side and preschool on the other. We have a few here at this table that are teaching based on seasonal. The seasonal is the controlled element in this all year round. So, and it has kind of a theme of what is going on during a village time or what goes on in nature during the time. And we guide the children through with visual singing. They do very well with singing, smell, tasting. So all that is a part of this curricula. So this is the cedar song. So one of the subunits is cedar. So, and the children learn parts of the cedar tree. And the song was created by Dr. Toby Langan. And it is one of my kids' favorite. I had kindergarten last year and this year as first graders. They would be humming this a couple weeks after we've gone on to other subunits. So parts of the cedar tree is 1 week. And what was the other? Gifts from the cedar tree. So, and we have paddles, and we have rattle, and we have a mini cedar hat. So we have a little kit put together. So the kids are definitely hearing about cedar tree through this song, as well as learning through the subunits. So you guys ready? Ilib check anti tiʔə ilib altibos chop stali heavy bos. Easy. So the ʔukʷalad being the branch, and txʷəl being the inner bark, and ʔukʷalad being the roots, and txʷəl is useful. So all those are useful from the cedar tree. Okay. Sorry. So singing in our native culture is pretty definitely important. The heartbeat of the drum, and sometimes the teachings that goes along. So just like in our subunit, singing has a lot of the more powerful facet in learning. So songs in our First Peoples culture, our songs. So these are the type of songs that come, that is sung during the winter in what we call the smokehouse longhouse. So power songs are gifts from the other side. So, and these are gifted to one individual that goes on a quest to seek out and have that a part of them, and it guides them through their life. So in this type of spiritual practices has been for thousands of years. This is William Shelton, and He was a carver, and right there is his spirit pole. I put that there because he went and he got spiritual quest from each of the men in Snohomish, and he created this spirit pole, and it was standing right by I think it's a battle, right near, no, not near Battle Creek. It's the other creek. But anyway, it's right there where our Montessori and our small little dam or bridge right there. That's where the spirit pole stood. So that's type of the songs that are in our, we have travel songs. So ilib. So travel songs can also be ilib. So there could be songs that they sang when they walked the pathways. So traveling by land had travel songs, and ways by water had water or canoe songs. So, and these were a source of protection as well as identity, because singing as you're going along can tell people on the shoreline who you are. Oh, that's the beaver house. Oh, it must be coming back from that big memorial. It's how everybody noticed each other and noticed their whereabouts. Honor songs. Siob's ilib. And this was also for txʷgʷadədgwɔd, for our warriors. And now that we can consider our vets, honor songs to place on them and protect them. txʷəl ilib. So there is a table or food blessing songs. So the songs have purposes. So in our first people's culture. Great. Let me think, what was this? Bulk to tea. Xʷgʷadədgwɔd tiʔə 12 to hawk. So this is songs are brought from long ago, what we call song catchers. So these are those that can bring back songs that could be gifted through dreams. It can be gifted through somebody's inspiration, and they can hear it in their head and they bring it out. So this is song catchers. Here is a song catcher. He was. So this is Kenneth Moses Sr. My first year in 1994, he came in to the office and went in the back. And I think he was recording this song that he had gifted and had brought out. He was going to Camino Head, Hoishid, Lushootseed, ʔukʷalad. He was on his way to the dedication of the Camino Head, where txʷəl tribes purchased it. And on his way there, he heard this song, and he saw in this peripheral vision a warrior canoe. And they say it's still there. But he came back and he got it recorded and gifted it, saying it needs to be used. So, and it's just one word. So he was a song catcher. This is, how do I? This is his song. Sung by the children. Oh, here we go. Yes. So txʷəl is arriving by water. So, and this was one of the Lushootseed language camps that we had a lot of songs going. The girls all had shawls, made shawls. The boys had a vest, and each of them got a drum and a clapper. The girls got clappers, the boys got drums. We had to do some pre-prep for that language camp, but it was a very successful camp. So also during summer camp, we have what is called a song center. So in every camp, we have a play and a theme going on. And we have several centers. And one of them is a song center. And it's usually preparing kids for the Friday. Friday is when they sing and perform and give away to their parents and family. And what year is language camp now?
26.
Was it 26? The eye with all, but the eye with all, he said, let's be sad, the eyes with all, let's see your eyes with all, going to you, be glad, it's you, be glad. Let's see your eyes with all, let's see your eyes with I didn't notice the boys would see. It's funny how they can actually, don't hear. I think that singing also can learning in that neutral zone where it's not so evasive and not so where you're not feeling put out there. So this is also another part of the summer camp. And this is the girls' song. We'll see the boys in a second, and then we'll wrap it up. So this song was a nice gift from the Jones family. And they gave permission because basically songs and stuff belongs to specific families. And this was a Eagle Owl Blue Jay song. And they use it at the first salmon ceremony. And the girls, of course, it's a shawl song. The next one is the boys' song. This one is a Skagit war song. My first graders are looking forward to this. They can't wait to get their hands on spears. The Snohomish War song, nobody really knows how old that song is. It is also teaching and connecting, our children to the history, We try to teach them that during, traditional songs, they aren't to be disrespectful. I would have to remind them that if I have a story or a song or something going, it's a gift from a long time ago. And if a gift, would you throw it down and stomp on it? No. Okay, so summary. Everyone felt. It can be a very awesome and empowering teaching tool for all ages. And of course, there was very important functions and purposes for songs in all cultures. So any questions?
Could I please have that word for arrive by waters one more time?
Laurel. I have some CDs and I'd like to. Txʷəl. Thank you again for listening to me.
Isn't it great? Don't you love the audience participation, singing a little bit? Maybe it's just me. Yeah, singing is such a wonderful way of ingraining the language. I think it's healing, and we saw all these wonderful benefits, all the cultural connections, and Warren and Betty talked about the connections to the land and the animals. There's just no good reason not to sing, right? It reminds me, our grandson went to txʷəl High School for a couple of years, and then he transferred over to a charter school. And while he was at txʷəl, that was about 10 years ago, because he just graduated a little over a year ago. So it was more than 10 years ago that he was going to txʷəl and learning these different songs. Well, about a month ago, the grandkids were over and helping us put together some gift bags for an event that we were doing. We were putting together about 200 gift bags, so it wasn't an easy afternoon. It was a busy, and so I started singing this working song that I had gotten from Zeke Aswali. So here. And as soon as I started singing it, my grandson looked at me and goes, "That's the squirrel song." And I was like, oh, wow, he remembered that, because we don't, he doesn't come over and sing with me on a regular basis or anything. And I thought that is, proof that these songs really can stick with you for a long time. So I encourage any of you teachers to, it's such a great tool to incorporate singing. I know some folks had to leave. There's a lot of things going on this time of year, and Saturdays are only happen one day a week. So, they get filled up pretty fast. And I'm really grateful to all of you who came here today and are staying with us through this afternoon session. Just wanted to see by a show of hands, how many people, is this your first time attending the Lushootseed conference? Excellent. Thank you for being here today. It's so I saw a lot of new faces, and it always brings me joy because our circle just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Can you imagine if we had everybody who's attended the conference for the last 13 years have like a reunion and all be here together someday? We'd need a much bigger room, right? That would be great. Well, I'd like to invite Mary Hanhamba. She's of Skagit, and she's our newest member of the Lushootseed board, and Mary's going to come up and introduce our next presenter. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you, Jill. And Malitista. And it's my pleasure to introduce Irene McCloud. She accidentally sat at our table, and we didn't realize that I would be presenting her until just right before lunch. Irene McCloud is an enrolled member of the ʔukʷalad tribe of Indians and has many ancestral ties to the Nisqually, Chehalis, Quinault, and Quileute people. Irene has been learning the Southern Lushootseed language and began learning the Southern Lushootseed language in 2017 from consultant and mentor Zamer Zeke. She received her first People's Language, Culture, and Oral Traditions certification in 2020. Congratulations on that. Irene currently works as a Lushootseed language teacher for the ʔukʷalad Tribal Language Department. Irene has a passion for Native children and families. She has previously worked in childcare for 9 years, where she developed skills in curriculum building and creating strategies for implementing the Lushootseed language in the classroom. Irene has dedicated herself to ongoing efforts towards language revitalization inside and outside of the classroom. So I present you with Irene McCloud.
I'm just gonna get set up really quickly. Am I ready to go? Just mirror? Oh, I'm on here. Okay, cool. Okay. So I created a presentation talking about Lushootseed ilib in the preschool classroom. I am passionate about children, like I said, and I wanted to just kind of present a little bit more about what we're doing in the classroom. To preface my presentation, I just want to say that we are adapting a lot of our songs here in the classroom from familiar melodies, and we are hopeful to start creating our own new songs in the classroom that will be more, I guess, cultural. I want to say the right words, but I don't really know. That's just kind of my thought going into this. But for now, we're going with what we know. And we are using things that are actually working for us in the classroom at Grandview Early Learning Center, where I previously worked. Is the clicker going to work for non-PowerPoints? No, okay, that's okay. So first, I just want to introduce myself. Good day to you all. Irene McCloud, txʷəl. My name is Irene McCloud, and I am a Puyallup tribal member. So currently, I work at the Puyallup Tribal Language Department. So previously, I worked at Grandview Early Learning Center in the preschool classroom. Unfortunately, my work there was interrupted by COVID, and so it's a whole thing. But we did accomplish so much in my time there, and I'm currently still there once a week, and I'm there actually more than that because my gracious boss allows me to go there whenever I want, and I am allowed to work with the kids as much as possible. So I love working with the children because they are just unafraid. They're so fearless, and the children, they are just ready to say all the sounds, no matter how silly they think we sound. They just go for it, and that's why I just love working with the kids. I have more experience there than with adults, so I'm there a lot. That is basically what I said in that second part. So basically, yeah, I'm allowed to go there all the time. We talk about different seasons. We talk about a lot of things, and we sing a lot of songs. So I'm going to just share some of our work. But first, I have a little challenge for you guys. I know sometimes you guys have been here all day, and I just want to, I guess, encourage everyone to meet everyone around them or as far as you can. But we do this every day. So, so every day, our children greet each other and say "kodachi," which just means like handshake. So I know it's like still kind of nervous, but if you're comfortable, kodachi to your neighbor or anyone around you, and we'll just take a second to greet each other. Again, the word is kodachi. We are all using Lushootseed, and that is the goal for Grandview and the children at Grandview, is that every single day we are encouraging the children there to use the language, to encourage the teachers there to use the language. That is how it continues to grow and live. And even if it's just one word and one phrase, something as simple as kodachi every day, txʷəl as every day, just encourages that growth in our language, and that's what we are looking for. So I do want to just play a cute little video. So this is the classroom that I'm in majority of the time. Can we hear that? Kodachi. And surprisingly, Asani there in the blue shirt, he's mostly nonverbal. So Asani is very, very quiet. He does some whispering, but we do hear him say things, and the language just encourages him. It's really fun. He loves it, and we always hear him, like, even counting in the language is always like, we're like, oh, yes, this is amazing. And that's something we see a lot happen with kids who may have some speech issues, some behavioral issues, which encourages improvement in all those areas. Next, this slide is Olatsu txʷəl txʷəl. So children identify with songs. And like I said, we are adapting the, I guess, westernized tunes to different songs and adding language in there. We use this song for the children to identify themselves. It gives them like time to have fun and to also like represent who they are. So, sorry. While this song is suited for young children, We also identify each other in many ways. Like the presentation had said before, you know who each other is by the songs that they're singing, by the words that they're saying, maybe the dialect they're speaking. You can kind of guess where they are from and honor that as we go. And so this is what we're doing in that video. I have a couple videos throughout, so buckle up. I'm not sure.
Kadachi.
Kadachi. This guy didn't get money.
So this is what our morning looks like usually, is just greeting each other. The rest of the challenges throughout our day is just utilizing what we call domains or txʷəl throughout our classroom. And that's just to create conversation with the kids. So we just encourage them to respond in Lushootseed. We encourage them to even non-verbally respond. So the songs happen between transitions, which we're going to talk about. So, ʔukʷalad piece, ilib. So we change what we do with the song. I feel like that's kind of deep. Like we change and transition through songs. We talk about seasons. We talk about paddle songs, bone game songs, land songs, along the water songs. So all of these songs encouraging or signaling a transition. And so we try to adapt that into the classroom as well. So we adopt those familiar tunes again to signal transitions because those can be tough for children. Moving from one activity maybe that they really love, they don't want to stop doing that, to the next thing and to transition, which I think we all, even as adults, can relate to that. I think music in general and songs can really help ease that transition for us. So this song, I'm not sure. I should have did a little more research where things come from. I'm a little new to Grandview within the last couple of years. And then, like I said, was interrupted by COVID. So I'm not sure exactly where all the songs come from or who wrote them, but I just remember learning them and using them because they were effective. So this song is when we are transitioning from outside. So tough transition, they want to stay outside, to circle time, to be still, ʔukʷalad. So this song is what we used. And it was, I mean, it took a little practice, but almost immediately we would just get them to line up. They know it's circle time when we sing this song. So here is a COVID video. So I am in my house making videos, trying to stay connected with the kids.
Wanted to share a song that we sing in the PTP classroom when we are getting ready to transition to circle. The kids love this song, so I just wanted to sing it for them. It goes like this. Laba lo speed, lo hati bid, chobelav, close above. Dish as chetid of olochas, ʔukʷalad. And that means eyes are watching, ears are listening, voices quiet, bodies calm. This is why we listen at circle time. At circle time.
Okay. I kind of like my voice though. I don't know why. I probably took that video like 37 times because it was going on Instagram, and then I was like, you know what, just whatever. So continue on talking about transitions or ʔukʷalad, changing. We recently adapted a song to transition to meal times. If you guys know children, they don't necessarily love food. Like at this age, they're really like hit or miss with wanting to sit down and eat. Half the time they don't like it. So we created a song to help with the transition. And it's really fun and we get into it. So here is little Ali. This is Amber Hayward's daughter. She is the director at the department, and she sent me this video of Ali singing the song before the mealtime. So I forgot to put the translation, but saying open your hands, close your hands, small little clap. Place your hands in your lap, and then open your hands, close your hands, little clap. Now we eat, and then we added the sign language there to add another level to these genius kids' language. So I just wanted to mention a little bit more. So this says, ʔukʷalad tiʔə ʔukʷadədgʷəd. So that means the kids are calmed by the songs when they are grabbed by emotion. So what we were, I just went over this with Eswali and I want to get it right, but I don't know if I do. So from what I understand is like the ʔukʷalad is to be grabbed by high emotions, to be throwing a fit. So ʔukʷalad is to be calm. So being calmed by the music as you're throwing a fit, which is, I think, a perfect depiction of what actually happens. We talked a little bit about lullabies and we just really would love some lullabies within our center, but I don't know any, and we're gonna work on creating some, but we definitely wanted to adapt in some language there to describe what it is that we are seeing and feeling. So hi ilib ʔukʷalad. So ʔukʷalad, from what I understand, again, I'm learning, is to calm down. So ʔukʷalad, calm down. This slide here, so we teach the children with songs. In the first picture, Micah is coloring with a club. So outside, they are always picking up sticks and putting things in their pockets and things like that. So we thought it would be fun to let them ʔukʷalad. So they can paint with whatever they bring in. Well, not whatever we bring in. Limited to here we challenge them to grab some sticks and some little baby pine cones. And then the second one, so we help the children with music. We help the children move to the next thing that we would like them to move to. So in this case, we are helping cleaning. So we sing the ilib, ʔukʷalad. So we sing the cleaning song for them so that they know that we are taking care of this place and we are cleaning now. He doesn't look too thrilled about that. Children don't necessarily love this song, but they do still sing it and they do still understand that it is time to clean The third one, Lahaidub Atish Biotsu Atish Ilib. So we learn with songs, all of us. We have our full circle there. This must have been a couple years ago. And we are just learning how to gather in a circle, how to do a couple of the dances, and to to learn how to follow each other in the circle here. So that goes into learning to take care and to follow the drum. So we use that term or the word follow the drum in life in general, but for the kids, it's also a tool, a learning tool for them. And so through my time at Grandview, there was a lot of conversations about literacy materials and deciding what is considered literacy. And so we had to kind of argue the fact that like purchasing drums and using drums is a literacy material. We learn and we teach and we help the kids with songs. And so we were able to purchase the whole center of drums in txʷgʷadədgŭəd, and we made a domain to teach the kids how to take care of that drum. So I just want to play that for you because I like this domain and I still use it to this day. So this portion right here on the left was what we called a take-home challenge. So throughout quarantine, we were sending home materials for the kids, and this was a pretty big send home. So we challenged them and the families to use our domains. And so they're usually 2 to 3 sentences, and we got some response from these, but the goal in that moment was to have visibility. We were just kind of doing everything that we could in those moments to like generate some sort of response and some positive like reporting to happen there. So the more visibility, the more that we could be hopeful. Along with like other materials, we of course made videos on how to say everything and asked for reports back and things like that. But the first line, Ati Solch. I have a drum. I see. So while they look a little intimidating, when we say them, they're very, very achievable for even 3, 4, 5-year-olds to make attempts to make these sounds. So we definitely didn't err on the side of simplicity. We always wanted full phrases because we know that they could do it. We've witnessed over and over again how capable the children are. But we did make the domain for how to take care of your drum, just in case this is their first one. So I'm going to play that.
Solch T. txʷgʷadədgŭəd T. txʷəl T. Solch. txʔə T. Solch. Ashalit T. Solch. Abashchbid Chef ʔukʷalad. Xʷgʷadədgŭəd quads tsalek. Xʷgʷadədgŭəd chef T. txʔwadi alta solch. ʔukʷalad T. Solch. Adaf chef dufchad
Sorry, I got cut off a little bit there. So the idea again with that video was to fully immerse the video so that the parents would have to engage. The challenge for them was to convey what they're saying in the video with the English caption there. but that our videos would be full immersion Lushootseed so that we wouldn't rely on the English was our thinking. So a little bit about what is next. I think that's always an open-ended, like dream big kind of question. But so far right now, post-pandemic, being back in the classroom, attempting to retain employees and language teachers. There's been a lot of good things happening within the Puyallup community, but also specifically at Grandview, where I enjoy spending most of my time. They now have 2 language teachers on staff. So they had one before, and then myself and another co-teacher were under a grant. And now they have 2 full-time language teachers. The Puyallup Tribal Language Department, we work with GELC to produce more speakers. And so that is just starting back up again. So throughout COVID, I taught multiple online classes. But as we know, with like online, the sounds can be a little different. So you're not really sure what is being retained because you don't know if it's a Zoom problem or if it's like just missing that sound from me or on their end as well. So we did a ton of work, but that doesn't discount anything that happened online. We got a lot of good results from all the work that we did online. Every single teacher within Grandview has basic knowledge of Lushootseed now. And so they use it in every class, and they have a lot of tools now to use as well. But currently, beginner and intermediate classes are offered to all staff during nap time. And currently it is not required, but we get a lot of attendance there as well. So I personally created, what do we call it? Like a quick reference guide for the teachers. So at my time at Grandview, I kind of felt like I knew generally like what the teachers would use or need in a classroom. And so we just generated a quick reference guide for the teachers to be able to rely upon. And I see it all around there all the time. And so it's just really nice to see teachers take the initiative, but also like have somebody that like infiltrated Grandview to know what we could use. And so it's been a really good outcome so far. And we're excited to see what happens there. Also, myself and David Turnipseed, he is also at the language department. We go there at least once a week in the classrooms. So we're generally helping their 2 teachers or just helping everyone, just using as much language as we can, running around with the kids and speaking as much language and singing as many songs as we can. And like I said before, we are just hopeful to create new songs and create new materials and all of those things that we are kind of a little bit lacking right now, but it's coming. So we're excited about that. I feel like I just went straight. I did. Okay. So I intended to add a slide, but like I said, I got on a little bit late, so it might be all over the place, and I apologize for that. But I just want to, again, thank Jill and the board for allowing me here to speak. And this has always been a really safe space for the language, and I'm excited for all of your guys' work, and I appreciate everybody coming here to listen today. So,
After the tragedy of 9/11, txʷəl was asking, what could one person do to make a difference in the world? And the spirit came back to her and said, music. Music is the one language that could be understood around the world. And so she set out on this journey to create a symphony, to have a symphony commissioned and then performed. And she insisted that it be performed at Seattle University or by the Seattle Symphony, which it did happen in 2006. It's nothing short of a miracle. The symphony was performed at Benaroya Hall, and it was filmed, and there was interviews with composer and the conductor and txʷəl about that process. And then afterwards, it just sort of sat, the raw footage sat for a number of reasons in storage for many, many years. And there were times that we would think, oh gosh, we should finish that documentary. We really need to finish that documentary. And things started heating up around the world in our society. And ultimately, when the pandemic hit, and there was all the violence, massive increase in violence and climate change and wars and the pandemic. And I felt this very strong calling. And I don't know how many of you ever had the opportunity to know txʊl, but she was wonderful. She was really good at giving assignments. And it wasn't really an option. When you were given an assignment, it was something that just something inside you said, okay, it's going to get done. And so when the lockdown happened, I got this assignment from the other side. txʊl is still with us, and she insisted, it's time. We need to finish this documentary. And so we set out for the next 3 years to very seriously endeavor to complete the film. And we're excited to finally have the film. And we had it premiered a month ago, right here at Seattle University in KingGeorge Auditorium. And there was close to 300 people that attended that. It's a 40-minute documentary. And right now, you're not going to be able to go to YouTube or social media or anything like that to see the film. Because the film has, it has a very special message and a special impact and story that goes with it. And so for now, what we'd like to do for a while is to have gatherings. We see the film as an opportunity to bring community together. There's a purpose and a mission to this film, which is to bring healing to the heart of the world. And we figure it's best to do that through gathering. You know, when people are in relationship with one another and the world and the environment around them, that's when the healing can happen. And so for at least the next year or so, plus we're also looking at sharing it with some different film festivals. It's ultimately Bai's dream was to have the symphony played around the world by many different orchestras and venues, because she saw that the whole world needed healing. And so we're hoping that the film will inspire orchestras to have a performance. And so if you know or have any connections to anybody who has even a youth symphony group, an adult symphony group, you know, people are hungry for this type of music, and the film will tell its story. And that's it for today. So don't forget that there are materials in the back. There are some of the txʊwəl videos, so everybody can walk away a winner today if you'd like a txʊwəl DVD. And we'll start the film in about 2:45. So feel free to stretch and do whatever you need to and come back and join us.
All right.